Let's start by looking at incredible coincidences. For example, the large-scale structures of the universe are very similar in appearance to neurons in the human brain. There is another curious coincidence: the number of stars in a galaxy, galaxies in the universe, atoms in a cell, and cells in a living being is approximately the same, from 10⁻⁻⁴ to the 11th power to 10 to the 14th power. According to scientific theory, the universe has existed since the Big Bang for approximately 14 billion years. Since then, the universe has been expanding rapidly, and it consists of approximately 68% dark energy, 27% dark matter, 5% ordinary matter, 0.1% of neutrinos, and approximately 0.01% of photons. The question arises, is the human brain, its consciousness, not a particle of world consciousness, and is world consciousness not the God mentioned in the Bible? And not only in the Bible, but also in other sacred books of the peoples of the world? Thus, perhaps the universe is God? The main mystery of the world was revealed to mankind several thousand years ago by the prophet Hermes Trismegistus. The ancient Greeks called this greatest of human teachers Hermes Trismegistus, that is, Hermes thrice greatest. The ancient Egyptians, whom he, according to legend, taught to read and write, laws and religion, deified him and identified him with the Egyptian god Thoth, and the Greeks with Hermes. Among Christians, he is considered a prophet, one of those who foresaw the coming of Christ. Whether this genius existed in reality is a controversial question, but apparently, he was a real person. According to legends, Hermes possessed many secrets of the world of people, heaven, and the underworld. He passed on the knowledge collected in 42 books to people. Only fragments of 2 of them have survived. And the most important part of his testaments was set out on emerald plates, the emerald tablets. For researchers, the most interesting is the famous formula of Hermes, supposedly containing the greatest mystery of the world. And he wrote the following: "This is the truth, the perfect truth, and nothing but the truth. That which is above is like that which is below. That which is below is like that which is above." This knowledge alone is enough to perform miracles. People have long suspected that every physical body consists of homogeneous tiny particles of matter. Even Democritus, who lived in the 5th to 4th centuries BC, believed that atoms, these tiny indivisible particles, move in empty infinite space. But their shape and properties remained unclear for a very long time. Only in 1908 to 1911, Ernest Rutherford conducted experiments that proved that the atom is surprisingly empty. The dense nucleus occupies an incredibly small part of the atom's volume, 1/4,000,000th. According to the planetary model of the atom developed based on these experiments, a dense heavy nucleus, like the Sun, is located in the center of the atom, and small light electrons move around it in closed orbits, like planets. Astronomers have also made good progress in studying the world. Galileo Galilei built the first telescope and discovered the moons of Jupiter, and now astronomers have learned to measure distances to stars and have increased the sensitivity of their instruments so much that they have become able to observe objects located far beyond our galaxy. It turned out that there are many other galaxies, and they are scattered in space not evenly, but gathered in clusters. Many clusters are gathered in superclusters, which have a cellular structure. It is interesting how the sizes of micro-world objects, much smaller than humans, and macro-world objects, which are much larger, relate. Due to the huge difference in their sizes, we will compare not absolute values in meters, but only their orders, that is, the exponents of the power of 10. The planet Earth has a diameter of about 10 million meters, that is, 10 to the 7th power. Thus, the order of the size of our planet is +7. About the size of an electron, it is known that its order does not exceed -18. So their sizes differ by at least 25 orders of magnitude. The size of the nucleus of a light atom differs from the size of the Sun by 23 to 24 orders of magnitude. The sizes of such pairs of structural elements of the micro and macro world differ by 27 to 28 orders of magnitude. a complex organic molecule, a galaxy, mitochondria, that is, part of a biological cell, a cluster of galaxies, a living cell, a supercluster of galaxies. We can say that the sizes of all these pairs have a similarity coefficient lying within 23 to 28 orders of magnitude. Let's denote the average value of this coefficient, close to 10 to the 26th power, by the symbol T, in honor of the Egyptian god Thoth. With this coefficient, where T is 1026, the three-dimensional spatial characteristics of the microworld are similar to the same characteristics of the macroworld. It is interesting what the ratios of the time scales of the micro and macro world are. The Earth makes one revolution around the Sun in 32 million seconds, and an electron in a low orbit makes about 10 billion revolutions around the nucleus in a microsecond, which gives a difference of the 23rd and 24th order. It turns out that the macro world and the micro world have more in common than three-dimensional spatial similarity, namely four-dimensional space-time. By how many times the sizes of objects change when transitioning from the micro world to the macro world, by the same number of times the flow of time changes. If we could miraculously move from our planet to the third electron of some atom, we would not notice significant changes either in the length of the year or in the angular size of the luminary. The density of stars in the night sky would also be the same, only the appearance of the constellations would be completely different. Probably, the length of the day, determined by the rotation of the electron, would be similar to our earthly one. The coefficient of similarity of spacetime above and below is close to the value of 10 to the 26th power. The question arises, are there only three levels in the world of stars, our earthly world, and the world of atoms? If this were the case, then the picture of the sky that can be observed from the level of the stars would not be similar to the one we observe, there would be no stars in its sky. But Hermes did not impose any restrictions on the action of his formula. Then it turns out that the world according to Hermes is composed of an infinite number of levels, both up and down relative to our level. And all neighboring levels of the world are similar to each other. Hermes Trismegistus claimed that the nuclei of atoms themselves consist of microatoms, in which matter occupies the same part of the volume. Obviously, with an infinite number of levels of the world, there is no place left for matter at all. If Hermes is right, then everything we can see in our night sky, stars, galaxies, clusters, and superclusters of galaxies, are parts of the organism of some supergiant macrohuman. He is a giant celestial being, whose size is about 10 to the 26th power meters, or 20 billion light-years. The stars in the sky above our heads are the nuclei of the atoms of the macrohuman's organism, our Sun is one of these nuclei, and the Earth is the third of the 8 electrons of the atom whose nucleus is the Sun. By the way, according to the periodic table, it turns out that we live in an oxygen atom. If we reason further in this direction, then from the principle of similarity it follows that the macrohuman is not the only one in the macro world. There must be other macro people there who have their own lives. It also follows that on the earthly electrons, on these planets of the micro world, there must be micro people, smaller by t times relative to the people of our level of the world, and they also have a life similar to ours. The theory about the universe as a small part of something bigger has long occupied a firm place in science fiction. It is enough to recall the movie Men in Black, where a galaxy hangs as a keychain on a cat's collar. In science, this correlates with the theory of the holographic universe, representing the interaction of particles as one object. This is a kind of matrix that unites matter and consciousness. For example, if we read text in a newspaper, we see a certain picture. However, with strong magnification, the printed font will break down into dots, of which, in fact, the article consists. To answer this question, you need to know exactly the history of the universe, which is still based only on theoretical research. Scientists cannot even say with 100% probability whether our universe is infinite or just very large. And in general, what is the universe? Perhaps it is the organism of God? Yes, this theory is very controversial, but until scientists have proven its inconsistency, it also has the right to exist.